was a normal night driving Uber, picking up passengers, and I think it was about 11:50ish. I got a request, and I went to pick them up from a club. It was 4 individuals, 3 males, 1 female. 1 male sat in the front seat, the other 3 sat in the back. They were inebriated. They got in just normal conversation that quickly turned into very inappropriate conversation where it included me logging off. They were asked, or the guy in the front seat was requesting that I log off and perform sexual acts and he would pay me. Of course, when I declined, I just reminded them, let's keep it respectful. And then after that, these friends were saying, you need to apologize, to her. That's very inappropriate. She's a young lady. And whenever he did apologize, it was not meant, not heartfelt. It was followed by the N-word. And from that point on, I pulled over on the side of the freeway and told them I'm not going to tolerate that. You guys need to get out of the car. That's when Wendy, who's the account holder, she was the only other woman in the car, really did beg me. We're only less than 2 miles from my house. Can you please just take us home? And from that point, I proceeded down the freeway. And as I was exiting their exit, her husband, which was sitting behind, I guess his name was Danny, or they kept calling him Dan, erupted into anger. Started calling me the N-word again, said he didn't feel like his friend in the front seat did any wrong by calling me the N-word. When I pulled over again and told them everyone get out of the car, he proceeded to tell me they're gonna F me up, they're in killers. That's when the guy in the front seat that they were calling Dan erupted into anger. And that's when I felt like, he's sitting next to me, that's a threat. So I hopped out of the car. The guy in the back that was sitting directly behind me hopped out, went around to try to help Wendy because she's trying to diffuse the situation and stop her husband from coming around the car. And that's when the guy in the front seat took his bottle and threw it at my face. And I lifted my hands to block it. The glass broke on my hand, and that's when the other party who was sitting in the back seat threw his bottle, and I just moved so it would pass me. At that time, I jumped back in the car, locked the doors, and I was driving down the street when 911 directed me to the nearest Texaco. At that time, I did look at my rearview mirror, and they were all dispersing. As I waited on the first responding officer, Wendy had caught up with me. So she was banging on my window, pleading and asking me, can I please help you? You're bleeding. I'm so sorry. The dispatcher instructed me to drive away, but I told her I didn't want to hit her because she was in front of my car. At that time, the first responding officer did pull up.
So what happened after the officers arrived?
They detained Wendy, and whenever he came to the car, he did see that I was bleeding. And he asked me to step out of the car, and there was blood everywhere. There was glass in my hair. There was glass out in the console, in the door. The officer actually cut his hand from the glass on the door. And so at that time, more officers started to arrive along with the fire truck as we waited on the paramedics.
And the men who threw the bottle at you, they were arrested?
Yes, they were eventually found. I did let the officer know that I saw one of them go into the woods. I let them know that the other 2, I don't know where they went. They later told me once I was in an ambulance that they did find them. The one that was hiding in the woods and the other one was just kind of walking through a neighborhood trying to play it cool. The third party, I don't know if they ever found him, but they eventually, of course they detained Wendy, but they eventually let her go in the end.